talking about this with my girlfriend. There's a lot of social situations that no one wants to be a part of. No one wants to deal with them. So I figured today I'd compile some of the worst social situations you can find yourself in. Don't take it too literally, but these are some painful ones. My first favorite horrible social situation is the kind of forced, hey, we got to do something soon. There's levels to the game, right? You have your friends, then there's maybe like friends of friends, acquaintances. This is like big on like friend of friend acquaintances. Let's say you see them at the gym, right? Like, oh, do I really want to talk to them? Okay, I guess I say hi. Oh, fuck, look, they clocked me. They got eye contact, so now I have to talk to them. All of a sudden, you have your little chit chat. Hey, what's going on? Oh, I'm doing pretty good, yada, yada. How are classes going? Whatever, right? You do all that normal stuff. Then it comes to the end of your 30-second to 3-minute tops interaction. I myself would just say, hey, it was good to see you. I'll see you around. A lot of people get uncomfortable doing that. So here's what they're going to do in this situation. They're going to latch on to the future hangout principle. Now, this is never going to happen, right? So here's what they're going to say is like, you're going to say, hey, it was great to see you. And they're like, oh, like, Jamie, like, we got to do something soon. Like, we got to get a beer. We got to get a beer. And there's a couple things you can do in the situation. I mean, maybe you want to hang out with the person, but I mean, come on, it's not going to happen. A good rule of thumb is to just hit them with the just text me, bro. Just text me, bro is a great one because you're kind of like calling their bluff, right? Like they think they're coming with a full house and you're saying you got nothing, you're not going to do anything. And oftentimes too, you can really call the bluff when you guys both know for a fact you don't have the other person's phone number. So then this kind of creates like this awkwardness at the end of the interaction because nothing's ever going to come of it. Now, the worst part of this is the part 2 or 3 of this incident where all of a sudden, after you guys have botched a hangout, you're going to keep running into each other. And every time hey, let's get a beer, that's going to get a little bit more awkward. That's my first situation that I'm going to consider to be pretty brutal. But, it's also kind of one that's harmless. And eventually, too, you can actually create this bad situation into a good situation if you both kind of acknowledge that you guys are bullshitting each other, which can lead to then a good interaction. A little bit of an equation here. Another tough one, working in customer service. Particularly, I'll give an example. I work at a Christmas tree lot, so I sell you a tree, I tie it on your car. The worst type of customer is the macho dad. The macho dad comes in with like the wife and the kids and they all talk the exact same. Like they kind of talk like the guys in like Hockey Night in Canada broadcast, like, hey, yeah, that's a good looking tree there. Let me look at that one. Or, if you're tying it on, it's like, I think I would know how to tie the tree on. It's not like they showed me like 10,000 fucking times how to tie it on. He's like, is that a tight enough knot? Is that a tight enough knot there? And dealing with the macho dad's kind of the worst too because, I live on tips. And candidly, a lot of the time, this guy's like, well, I don't need to tip this guy. I could have done it myself. Or he's going to tip you in like the most condescending way possible, which I've seen. It's the kind of like go up from behind you and like slide it in your back pocket. And like at that point, it's like, why don't you take your 20, shove it up your fucking ass? Because that's such a douchey way to tip someone. That's another social interaction where I'm just kind of like, I could take it or leave it. And every time you deal with the macho dad, you're just like, fuck. This is another tough one. Forgetting someone's name multiple times. Now, I would say like I'm generally like pretty good with like people's names, but like I would say it's a tough scenario where like you don't know a person, like maybe you know their face and they come up to you and they crush your name right away and start asking you about a detail of your life and it's like I don't know your name. Like I've seen your face before. All of a sudden now, like if they're smart about it and I say, hey bro, or dude, they're gonna catch on eventually after you use too many of those and I'll be like, hey, like I actually got this for you. They're like, hey, like do you even know my name? And I was just like, is it Will? And like, Will, Jack, Matt, always a good guess. He goes, no, it's Simon, and like gives me the stink eye. And then of course, like the other scenario, of course after that, keep running into this guy after the fact. but now he hates you. So now he's not even going to come up and talk to you anymore, which is kind of a blessing in disguise. But then you kind of have to do that thing where like you're trying to evade eye contact. You're walking down the street. You pretend you just got a text. Last one that's the worst. It's probably like if you're like, at least in university, I found in our bathrooms, there is only one stall for like a very large portion of the library. And a lot of the time you're at the library, you know, people are drinking coffee, people are drinking stimulants. What do those do? They make you shit. So often you've got this kind of like massive like backlog in these bathrooms, and you're just kind of standing there awkwardly, like, and there's kind of like a rule of thumb, right? Where like if you're taking a shit when there's only like one stall and there's a line, like it's not really your window to like sit on the toilet and like watch, you know, I don't know, 5-10 minutes of like Instagram reels or like YouTube shorts, like what, you know, it's kind of like, hey, like take 2 to 3 minutes tops. You know, I know it's squeezing out of you pretty fast. I just heard it. I'm not hearing anything hit the bowl. It's like, let's get moving along. And I think the worst thing too is like all the guys lined up there. It's kind of like, do we make small talk? Do we, you know, do you just kind of sit there looking at your feet and you walk in, you kind of give them like one of these like, what's up, you know? Because you're all kind of like half shameful, right? Like I feel like taking a shit in a public place is, you know, you have to do it. I've been there myself. I mean, I have been there. You know, it's an awkward, uncomfortable spot though when you're all waiting there to do something very private, and then you have, you know, like 3 or 4 guys in a queue sitting there listening to you take your shit. It's like, and then the worst part is like maybe it was a bigger one. Maybe you're backed up. Maybe I had blackberries at breakfast, and all of a sudden like I'm groaning a little bit. I made a sound and I have to come out, and you know, I know they're silently judging me. So you know, that's another tough interaction that I'd rather do without. Tough situations which we find ourselves in, and I think it's really important that we talk about them and make sure that, you know, we're being aware that these situations exist. And I think as a society we need to start talking about them more, because these are real things hurting your day to day.